I am Matt.
Hang on. My audience is
Vinny.
Susie.
Matt. Roger.
America is known as being the land of opportunity. It's a country where many people come to in hopes of achieving the American dream and living their life to the fullest. The dream to one day own a beautiful home, have a steady retirement, and have a family that they can create memories with. Is that dream being constricted, however, by the lack of a livable minimum wage? The current minimum wage in the United States is $7.25 an hour and has been so since 2009. According to a recent survey done by Huffington Post, over 48% of Americans are in favor of increasing the minimum wage from the current $7.25 an hour to over double that amount, to $15 an hour. Even though there are distinct advantages that come from making the minimum wage such a desirable amount, there are also many negative repercussions that come from making such a drastic change. Although increasing the minimum wage will bring about short-term satisfaction in the workplace, the negative effects long-term, such as a decrease in employment opportunities and the destruction of a working middle class, far outweigh the positives. How would everyone here like $310 more per week in their paychecks? I know I surely would. That's how much the increase in minimum wage would amount to based on a 40-hour work week. According to the Economic Policy Institute, this would be a reality for nearly 41 million Americans, which accounts for 30% of the American workforce. People would be able to purchase more items, afford better housing, and not have to worry nearly as much about expenses. However, there are some direct negatives related to this, and one problem that can be summarized in one word: inflation. Webster's dictionary has inflation defined as a persistent and substantial rise in the general level of prices related to an increase in the volume of money and resulting in the loss of value of currency. What this means is that items such as milk, eggs, bread, and water that were relatively inexpensive before will now be on the rise. Housing prices will increase to match the levels of pay, gas prices will go up, and goods will become very expensive. Even colleges will now charge more for the same education as before, since the value of the dollar will be diminished. Inflation would unfortunately be a massive hurdle to overcome if the minimum wage were to be increased. Now the $310 that was thought to be extra will now have to be budgeted in order to handle the effects of inflation. Even though there are short-term positives, there are many negatives to consider. According to a recent study done by Forbes' Tim Worstall, the negative effects of raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour would create a tremendous void in the job market. Worstall says that an analysis of what will actually happen if we try to make $15 an hour the national minimum wage for the U.S. is that 6.6 million. Yes, that's 6.6 million jobs will be lost. That's more people that earn at or under the current minimum wage, where the Bureau of Labor and Statistics shows that of the 78.2 million workers in the United States, only 2.6 million workers were paid minimum wage at their jobs in 2015. These jobs lost will be widespread as well. Small businesses will no longer be able to make it, as they can't afford the increase in pay for their employees, or at best would have to reduce staff. Large corporations will reduce staff at bottom levels where most employee opportunities are in order to stay competitive. With the amount of eligible job candidates increasing per day, I believe the last thing we want to do is reduce job opportunities nationwide. In addition to jobs being lost, the middle class would also take a massive hit. According to CNBC, the middle class income for a family of three is roughly $46,000 per year. Based on calculations for two working adults at 40 hours per week, each adult would need to make $11.30 per hour to be considered middle class. In comparison, minimum wage employees currently make $31,000 for two adults, and this is considered lower class. Increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour would essentially put the middle class in the lower class and upper class into the middle class effectively, unless there was an increase in everyone's pay nationwide, the proposed $7.75. But I don't foresee that being the circumstances. $100,000 for a year will no longer be considered extravagant and would be considered the norm. The lower class would still be the lower class, except a change would bring down the upper classes, effectively destroying the working middle class. Now that we are informed about the positive and negatives of increasing the minimum wage, we should be able to make more informed decisions when it comes to elections and voting. We know that short term, we will have more money in our pockets until inflation takes effect. We also know that the long term, the job market will be thinned by a tremendous amount and that the middle class could also be destroyed. I now ask you to collect the information and make informed decisions at our next election and help America keep America the land of the opportunity and keep American dream alive. Thank you.
I'm overwhelmed. I'm simply overwhelmed.